Welcome back to the Morning Agenda on Power 106 FM. I'm Kemoy McEachron. Now, artificial intelligence tools are becoming increasingly common in real estate offices worldwide, and Jamaica is no exception. From visual claims to spoken and written claims, AI systems tend to produce information that sounds credible but may be incorrect or incomplete. In foreign markets, there are already instances where AI-generated listings cited nearby amenities or features that did not exist. In Jamaica, similar mistakes could mislead buyers about access, views, infrastructure, or development potential elements that frequently influence property value. Beyond marketing, AI is also entering discussions around legal and procedural guidance. Some platforms now market themselves as tools that can answer legal questions for agents and clients. That poses a clear risk. To help us understand more, we are now joined by founder of Jamaica Homes, Dean Jones, alongside Chief Executive Officer of Adtelligent, Craig Ho. Good morning to you both, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
All right, thank you so very much for joining us right here on the Morning Agenda on Power 106 FM. Let me start with you, Mr. Jones. Are you concerned about the introduction, or the unregulated introduction, I should say, in the real estate industry in Jamaica?
There are things to be concerned about. As I just want to start to say that I am a supporter of AI. One of the early adopters, started using it quite a few years back when it first launched, and I see the benefits in it. But I think that there needs to be an awareness of the risks around using it, particularly in real estate as it concerns the tools that we use. It's being widespread. It's widespread now, and it's being used for a number of different things. So, yes, I have some concerns.
And what are some of those concerns?
Some of those concerns is that for somebody like me who's been in tech most of my life, I know the risks around technology. And as I mentioned, I'm a heavy user, so the ChatGPT can be used for property descriptions. I use it for property descriptions, but I don't use it to generate the property descriptions. I use it more likely as a support to tidy up property descriptions, and that's where the difference is. I see AI as a support tool, not as a decision maker. And so other agents may take, like, for example, a photo of a property which hasn't been staged correctly in terms of tidied up, and they might use AI to stage a photo. That can be dangerous. It can be dangerous for a number of reasons, because AI, when it does that, it can change the lighting, it can even change the surface of the floor, materially change the building, which can later on raise legal questions, and I believe that agents as well as their brokers could end up on the end of a lawsuit because of something like that. Whereas in the past, tools like Photoshop would have been used, and everybody knows that, you know, you can adjust lighting and stuff, but you wouldn't go any further than that. So there is serious concerns around the use of it for staging. I'm not dead against it. There are ways to do that, but I think when you know the risk and you know that you're still responsible, and I think people misunderstand that, you know, they're getting information from the AI, they assume that it's right. And I've generated content, which is from my own content, and I've reread, and I've said, hang on a second, there's things wrong in there. It's actually writing things like it's right, and it's wrong. And, you know, I've heard, you know, when your stomach goes a bit funny, you think, oh my goodness. So I've gone over all my stuff, and I think this thing really is a tool to support. It's not to just generate and to use without discretion, you know?
Yes. Let me bring in Mr. Powell into the discussion now. Of course, this is an area, you're in this area, and there's a clash now, Mr. Powell, in terms of advertising. The issue of accuracy is really what the focus is on now. But give us a proper context. Mr. Jones spoke about the example of Photoshop. What's the difference there now between AI and this idea of Photoshop? Wouldn't people be able to tell the difference, for example, is where we're trying to understand?
Well, I think it has to do with, like, the ease and the level of effort that someone's going to do. So let's say you decide to Photoshop a picture. If you were photoshopping a picture 10 years ago, it would take a lot of effort for somebody to do something outside of changing the lighting and removing a bit of the clutter, because in Photoshop, it takes a lot of work to, disassemble a photo and change it materially. So, for example, change the material of the floors, that would take a lot of work. Shrink someone's face, that's not as much. But something like, changing a picture on a wall, yes, you could do that, but that also takes a lot of work. With AI, it doesn't take any work whatsoever to, completely change a picture and make it look like something that it isn't. And I think where the real issue is it's three types of people. And I'd say scammers, anyone who's scamming, this is like the ultimate tool to just trick people, because you can just have the worst apartment ever, take a picture of it, and tell people, yeah, man, it's this, and it's not this.
Yes. The issues that you have raised center into the clash of things that we're having, the issue of accuracy, accountability, professional responsibility. And while you are in the advertising sector and you may see AI, and it certainly has certain benefits, I'm going to use an example as a way of analogy. It's not a case where it's just misleading advertisement. So, for example, you have a photo of food being advertised on a website or a newspaper, and you say, for example, texture enhanced for texture, for example, enlarged to show texture. This, Mr. Jones, now raises serious legal questions, because it's not just saying something exists or has been changed, but the material terms of the contract for real estate are crucial in the contracting stage.
I agree, and that's the issue, because, if you are just, if I took a picture of a menu and I said, oh, generate the items on the menu, and it was a chicken dish, a fish dish, and a pork dish, but because it's AI, it's also added steak, it added milkshakes, it added some Indian food, and I don't check that to know that, wait, my restaurant doesn't do that, and then someone comes to the restaurant and says, hey, where's the Indian food? That's what can happen in this real estate thing. And the problem with real estate is people set prices based off the amenities, the features of a house. And you can imagine, because a lot of these new apartments are being bought by diaspora. Some is being bought sight unseen. It can really lead to mispricing as well as, mismanaged expectations. So it really is about using, as you said, licensed real estate agents who take their professional responsibility seriously. Not that they're not using AI, but just that they actually care to check.
Yes. All right, we're up on the first break. Let's take the first break, and then we come back to pick up on that point. Stay with us, listeners. We are speaking with founder of Jamaica Homes, Dean Jones, alongside Chief Executive Officer of Adtelligent, Craig Paul. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Agenda on Power 106 FM. I am Kamoy McEachron. We continue our discussion now, and we're speaking about AI in the real estate market here in Jamaica. We're speaking with founder of Jamaica Homes, Dean Jones, alongside Chief Executive Officer of Adtelligent, Craig Paul. All right, Mr. Jones, let me bring you back into the discussion now to respond to some of the things we were touching on before the break. And particularly, I'm concerned about the legal ramification, as I was raising the point just before the break. I don't believe that the caveat emptor or the buyer be aware principle is even enough to protect unsuspecting persons in this industry.
Probably not. No. There's the thing with AI is that it came in and it just happened. It just came in. The thing a lot of people don't realize is how fast it's grown. And I'll just take a step back just to say that it broke records when ChatGPT was launched. Was it about 3 years ago now, roughly? It got to 1 billion people within 5 days. It took Netflix 3.5 years. It took Instagram 2.5 months and Facebook 10 months. Since then, the power of ChatGPT has grown. So this is not going away. I just want to make that clear. If anything, it's gonna come, and people are already using it across Jamaica, as we know. Agents in my agency, across all agencies, are using it. We're using it to support our property descriptions. It makes it sound better. After all, why wouldn't you use it? And I encourage people to use it. A builder, for example, would not stop using a level or a hammer. This is a tool, and it's to be used. And I think the more we use it, the more we can understand it, the more we can put in safety measures around it. But if we kind of just ignore the fact that this thing is happening, the world is moving very fast with this, that's going to be the problem for Jamaica as a whole, just not just for real estate, but as a whole. So I want to picture this. You're a customer and you're searching for a property to buy. You're from the diaspora or you're from abroad and you're coming to Jamaica to live. And so you find the perfect dream property. You see the pictures, they look bright, they look glorious. The description reads just right. It's perfect. It's late at night, the 11:30 at night, and it's late. You wake your wife up, or your wife wakes the husband up and says, look, I found the property that we dreamed about. Your heart sinks when you book the appointment, you fly to Jamaica and you look at this thing and you see that the garden that is overgrown. It's not lawn. The lawn isn't done. You go into the house, you look down, you don't see marble, you see an old type of tile. You don't see the couch that was on the picture. You see something that is broken down the walls with, damp coming up the sides and stuff like that. Now, as I said, I'm a supporter of AI, but I think agents need to be very aware of the fact that when it's changing the picture, and I've done it, my heart is sunk when I've seen that it can actually change the composition of the room and slightly change the arrangement to make it look bigger or brighter, or the colors look less yellow and more pink, for example. That's a material change. So that's what we need to be careful of. So you need to have an eye for this thing. So the responsibility does not go away just because we're using it as agents. And where the other person mentioned was that the scams, just as technology comes in, the scams are going to get more advanced, more sophisticated, should I say. And so, and they're using platforms already like Airbnb to, they rent a place. This is a common one, and it's across Europe now. They rent the place for the week. Then they generate property descriptions and listings while they're in your place. They advertise that. They sign people up, and then they're out. And then the property owner is left with all this litigation and problems and complaints. That's on the Airbnb side. On the agency side, I need to flag that I could take 1 minute of your voice. I can clone your voice. If I've got a video of you, just half a minute, maybe a minute, I can clone you. And then I can put out adverts, real estate adverts about you. So, and you saying that you're renting this or you've got this for sale. This is going to become more common. And we need to have these discussions and we need to start planning around what we're going to do. Not to stop it, because we cannot stop it. The bad operators as well as the good, everybody's going to be using this. We need to have these discussions around what we do to protect not only the agents, we need to educate the agents, but educate the public as to what is coming, what is here, and where it's going.
Yes, Mr. Powell, I want to ask you about ethics that govern the advertising industry as on one hand, but as Mr. Jones was talking, I remember, I don't know if you remember as well, there used to be an ad on TV when we had scamming, let me call it scamming in quotation mark. We had quite a lot of, it was around the time when we had those failed investment schemes, and there was an ad on TV that was running about people, it was like a couple, they went to purchase a house, and it was saying when they turned up, it was like a field with the cows in it. Right. It reminds me, it's amazing how the more things change, the more they remain the same, and we have come back to that exact, that ad demonstrate the point that we have come back to, which is the stage we are at now. So I want to ask you about the rules governing, so of course, the issue of scamming and stuff, Mr. Jones pointed out, we won't be able to stop some of these things. But I also want to ask you about the ethics providing or surrounding advertising as well.
Well, that's a problem, right? So ethics definitely governs the individual person who's going to post these ads, but there's not that many rules that govern what you can and what you can't advertise on these platforms, except for what Facebook and TikTok, they say. So, for example, if you're a licensed financial institution, right? Licensed, that means you're actually licensed. It means Bank of Jamaica, and it used to be the Fiscal Commission or whatever, they used to govern you, but now it's all at BOJ. So DOJ governments, they write rules, and those rules are very clear of what you can and can't do. That group that people are afraid of, that SSL, if everyone remembers, turns out they weren't really licensed, right? So they're not actually governed by the same thing, because when you're licensed, that means, there's an authority. There's a licensed real estate agent. He's also governed by probably the licensing body. There's probably rules about what you can and what you can't do. And advertisers who are in the medical field, and you're a doctor, there's also a medical association of Jamaica that also says what you can and what you can't say. So anyone who's a professional, like a lawyer and has to pass a bar, and there's a profession, and there's things that you can and can't say. And it's actually written down. Outside of that, though, there's nothing that's stopping a person to go on TikTok. There's no legal thing. I mean, maybe there is that you have to go sue in Jamaica or whatever, but nothing that is going to stop them right away from posting a fake video and just advertising something and scamming people. That's why someone was able to do a $600 million scam about housing. A medical doctor did that. Actually, I'm a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, and that raises now the other concerns for the industry, you guys in the industry now. That's a lot of work now to rebuild confidence that is being undermined by these persons.
Bad operators, yeah. It's a huge concern, and I know that there's been a few. I know the RAJ, the real estate board, they're looking at that, and they put various things out. It's a serious concern because it could erode the trust around our industry, and it probably will if we don't get on top of it. Like was just spoken, I've seen copycats of agents from agencies like Coldwell Banker or Keller Williams. I've seen replicas of agents on TikTok, on Instagram. Yes, once we report, after some time they're taken down. But the damage these bad actors are doing is real, and if it continues and it becomes even more and more, no one's going to trust an agent anymore, and that's the problem, because there's already trust issues, and I think we've worked very hard to build up this industry, and so education, we're going to need to educate people more about, like the gentleman just said, about going to the real estate board's website, checking the realtor's registration number, asking the realtor to provide their ID, because we all have IDs, we all have our identification numbers. We should be providing that on our profiles, but even further still, educating the public so that they do that too. So that is one step in us, continuing to gain trust and to support and build our industry. But as a whole, as a country, the world is on this race. If nobody's watching, the major powers, they're on a race to singularity, which refers to the rapid acceleration of these tech giants to get to the point of generating an artificial intelligence that is super intelligent. They call it ASI. And so everybody's racing to do that. The technology is out there. The technology is free, generally, and the bad actors are using it. So yes. It's not just a real estate concern. It can bring down our industry. It can make it worse because clients have trust issues already, especially from the diaspora, especially abroad. I have to gain their trust. And I've lived in the UK. I've lived in London. I've worked there. And I still have to go some way to spending some time and talking and not necessarily convincing them, but, gaining their trust and going from there. That's going to get worse if we're not careful.
Yes.
And it will be gridlock. Nobody's going to want to buy anything. And can you blame them if there's so many fake listings out there?
Yes. We have to leave the discussion there. Thank you both so very much. Speaking there with founder of Jamaica Homes, Dean Jones, alongside Chief Executive Officer of Intelligent, Craig Paul. Thank you so very much.